This is a landmark day for the system of justice in Australia. David McBride, the Afghan war crimes whistleblower, has been sentenced to jail, an aggregate sentence of 5 years and 8 months, a non-parole period or time in custody of 27 months, 2 years and 3 months. The whistleblower goes to jail, yet no lives were endangered by his activities. He thought he was doing his duty in the public interest. Those who did commit the war crimes are roaming free. The generals are decorated, bemedalled. The Defence Minister is now High Commissioner in London. McBride was not involved in the murder of 39 Afghan civilians by the army. Its generals remain decorated off scot-free. Command has taken no responsibility. McBride had complained through the proper army channels he'd done the right thing, but his complaints about proper legal process fell upon deaf ears. This is essentially an administrative story where a lawyer saw failure in the legal process and was rebuffed when he tried to go through the right channels and eventually went to the press to reveal the failure. Then his life was destroyed. David McBride has been charged with stealing documents and communicating them to journalists. He stole them as an act of public duty. PwC, the Big Four consulting firm, stole secret government documents. PwC was not charged with stealing documents. It stole them for personal profit for the partners of the firm. Who is the traitor? Who is the enemy of the state? Is it the whistleblower acting in the public interest, or is it the consultants acting for personal profits? PwC stole these secret government documents while working confidentially with the government for large consultancy fees, gave them to foreign multinational companies to rip off Australia to the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars in tax. It refused to comply with the demands of the Australian Parliament to release information, and after some rough publicity, it has now been rewarded by going back into government consulting. The past few days, we've just learnt they're going to go back into government consulting and will be rewarded with our money. McBride has spent 5 years awaiting the hangman's noose. He's done his time. The case is likely to be appealed because there are incredibly important precedents set here by Justice David Mossop's decision in the Supreme Court in Canberra. The defence is likely to appeal on grounds that the guilty decision was too narrow and would only conceal war crimes in future. The Nuremberg defence. David was convicted of disobeying orders and stealing documents. Does an army lawyer have a duty to simply obey orders, or a higher duty to serve the public? A higher duty to the court, a higher duty to justice and the public interest? The Afghan war crimes whistleblower says the latter. And that's why he says he leaked this sensitive information to the media about the carriage of legal affairs in the Australian Defence Forces. And the leaks led to the ABC's Afghan Files story and the Brereton inquiry, bit of a whitewash. Nothing's come of that. Later found 39 Afghans were illegally killed during the war. These have never been prosecuted, and the Army Command has not taken responsibility. But David McBride was never given the chance to argue his case of public interest, as Justice Mossop struck out his public interest claim, his public interest defence in November last year. He was forced suddenly to plead guilty and fall upon the mercy of the court or the system. They wanted to send a signal. You can understand the position of the government. They don't want people leaking information. It's not the army way. But justice has not been served because we have a double standard for justice in this country. And David McBride did legitimately think he was acting in the public interest, that he would later be vindicated when these complaints that he had made through the proper legal channels were investigated. Unfortunately, that did not happen. So it's not only David McBride on trial today, it is the system of justice in Australia. And what kind of justice is it? where a whistleblower is tried, yet all of his superiors, the decorated generals and army command, get off scot-free? What kind of justice is it where McBride is denied the opportunity to put his case in an open court of law, being compelled rather to plead guilty to government charges, but with no resort to the most basic legal right of defence, to have your say? And what kind of justice is it which allows a whistleblower to be tried and convicted where the actual war crimes go unprosecuted, while dozens of incidents go entirely unpunished, untested in any court? What kind of justice is it where extravagant defamation circuses, the Ben Roberts-Smith case, a $40 million extravaganza, prancing silks and media titans, a civil trial, despite the evidence of war crimes? Nothing has come of that. What are they doing? What kind of justice is it where defence can outsource its SAS black ops to a secretive private operator, Omni Executive, as revealed in our story by Stuart McCarthy a week ago, while an employee of the state trying to expose administrative legal failures can face criminal trial, be convicted, and be sent to jail?